Hi, Adab, Namaste. I watched a horror movie. It's called Whistle. Yeah, I think the name is really nice given that FIFA season is on. I'm cheering for Brazil, by the way. What team are you cheering for? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's get into the review. This is a movie about a whistle, an Aztec death whistles. A lot of stories and creepy stuff have been told about Aztec death whistles. So the common understanding is that those are objects that are used in Aztec rituals and they're used to summon death. And in the movie, you see that there's a bunch of children who somehow find an Aztec death whistle. How they get the whistle, it's not very clear. You only see it from the very first victim's story. So there's this guy, he's like a basketball player, and somehow he's aware that something's coming for him because you can see him see shadowy figures here and there, and very soon he's claimed. And then somehow the whistle ends with the protagonist. Her name is Chrysanthemum. Chris, very unique name, by the way. So she does some investigation, and it turns out, contrary to what everyone believes, the Aztec death whistle is not used to summon death in general. There's no god of death or anything like that. It is used to summon your death. So the story is that when you're born, your death is also created along with it, and she's gonna send death is going to search for you and will find you at the end of how many ever years you're supposed to live. So if you're supposed to live 80 years, death will find you at the end of 80 years, and if you're supposed to live 20 years, she'll find you at the end of 20 years. You get the gist. Unless you blow into this whistle or you hear this whistle. So you don't necessarily have to blow into the whistle. If you hear someone in your proximity blow into the whistle and you still hear it, death will now be led to you, which means as soon as you hear the whistle, death now has eyes on you, your death. So when she finds you, you will be taken and it'll appear in front of you the way you were supposed to die. So if you were supposed to die in a car accident, what appears in front of you would be your mangled corpse at whatever age it was that you were supposed to die. Very unique concept. When I first saw this trailer, I was reminded of this one creepy pasta from, I think, several years ago, where there was something similar where you could summon your death and it comes for you in the form that you would have taken your last breath. But the movie itself was slightly disappointing. Of course, it's supposed to be a teenage horror movie, I believe, young adult at least. So it wasn't very frightening. The concept was really cool, but I believe it was poorly executed. While there were some scenes where it did build tension, I was on the edge of my seat for, like, if you take like the entire duration of the movie, which is about an hour and a half, I was on the edge of my seat for maybe like 10 minutes max. And that too, not when there was like a creepy sequence happening. It was when the lady in question was explaining how this whistle works and how you can find a work around it. Yes, there is of course a work around it, and it's not a very smart one. I mean, it's something that sounds very cliche. So if you ask my opinion, I'm someone who watches a lot of horror movies, by the way. Ever since I was 5, I think my mental health was greatly aided by horror movies. I don't know why, it just helps me. So I watch at least 2 horror movies every week. I don't always sit down to review them. I wish I could do that more. Even right now, I'm like in the middle of cooking a meal. And that's the only time I could find before I had to get back to work. I work from home remotely. Okay, anyway, there's a lot going on. But do consider subscribing if you like hearing about horror movies and if you like listening to horror stories. Yeah, I narrate a lot of that. So my review about The Whistle is that they took a really nice concept, put a cute spin on it, the spin being that it comes for it is your specific death and not calling out to the god of death or anything like that. So they made it more personalized, you could say. And then they just wasted it with terrible acting and even worse prosthetic makeup. There was this one scene where there's a kid who is supposed to be a churchgoer, and when his death comes for him, his supposed corpse or whatever that is, it was so badly done. It looked like someone was given some Mod Podge and crumpled paper and a marker pen. Yeah, so I feel sad that they wasted such a cool concept, but it's a great one time watch, especially if you like horror movies and if you maybe want to watch a horror movie that's not too scary that you can just watch with your friends and laugh at. This is the kind of movie that you'd want to watch. So yeah, that's my quick review about Whistle. It's out on Prime, by the way. All right, I'll see you in another video. Adab, namaste, bye. Drink water, wear sunscreen.